We're actually going to move on and do some predictions for the Academy Award nominations, which, as I said earlier in the podcast, are dropping later this week, this upcoming Thursday. So by the time you're listening to this, they would have either already dropped or they're about to drop very, very soon here. We historically have not done this in the past, but I think it calls for it this year just because of how crazy and chaotic it is and how unpredictable it is, and how it can just really go in any direction at this point. And also, we just found out, last week because of the wildfires in Southern California, they were pushed back and delayed. So it did allow for a little bit more time for Academy voters to watch the films in contention and to place their votes, which is also something I think we have to remember. That will affect the names that we see come this Thursday. The fact that people have more time as opposed to what historically has been the case in previous years where it's like, typically that second week in January, it's a hard cutoff. If you haven't seen it, too bad. You won't vote for it, whatever the case may be. But these few extra days could change a lot. Seeing all these other precursors, seeing what the DGAs did, seeing what the Writers Guild did, and what the BAFTAs have done, could heavily influence ultimately what we see with these nominations. Now we're only going to do the top big 8 categories, so we're not going to go through all 24. We're just going to do the screenplay nominations, the acting awards, director, and then best picture. And we're respectively just going to give our predictions for all of those categories in terms of who's going to be nominated. We're not doing and picking winners just yet. We always do that a week before the Academy Awards airs, but we're going to try to predict who gets nominated, which don't know how this is going to go, but we're gonna try and we're gonna see, because there's just a lot of tough conversations that we have to have. Any sort of introductory thoughts, or just like thoughts before we dive into this and start to try to nail down who's going to be nominated this week?
Hey, people need to know that we're doing our best. This is a crazy year, which makes it that much more interesting though too, and makes this year exciting. I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on these award shows this year because everybody's going to be like, whoa, what is happening? Like, oh, what is this? We don't know who's going to win. I think that does help sometimes with the viewership of the show, and when people don't know what's going to happen and are interested and excited to see maybe some surprises and snubs and upsets and all those things to pop up. So yeah, bear with us because it's going to be wild.
What I also will say, and this is what we also do with our Academy Awards predictions for the winners, these predictions are who we think will be nominated, not necessarily who we personally want to win or be nominated, not our personal favorites. I think we can have conversations about that, of like who we think probably should get in or what that case may be. But this is just, going off of best guess of who we actually think will be nominated. If there are people that we think should be in, then I think we also have to play the game of taking out somebody. Like, who would we replace that person or that movie with? And so this should be interesting. But let's dive in. Let's do it. And let's start off at the bottom with the screenplay awards. We're gonna kick it off with best adapted screenplay and pick our 5 nominees for that category. Do you want to kick it off, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I could do it real quick.
Okay.
Because I think I have a solid potential 5 here.
Cool.
I'm gonna go Conclave, Amelia Perez. Oh man, see, this is a mix between what I want to happen and and what I think it's going to happen, but I'm gonna do it. Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, A Complete Unknown. Those are the 5 I'm going for right now, I think.
Okay.
And obviously in a what I would want world, there's no way Dune Part 2 doesn't make it for me. I mean, again, this is one of the hardest books to adapt like ever, and he made it into a successful blockbuster film. It's just like, I don't know what we're doing, but part of me, I still have a weird feeling about Dune. If nominations come out and Dune is a part of the 5 instead of one of these films, to be honest, I'd probably be pretty happy about it. But for right now, those are my educated guess predictions.
Okay, so you had Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, Sing Sing. What was the 5th one?
A Complete Unknown.
A Complete Unknown. Okay.
I know Academy Awards likes them a good music biopic, boy. They love it.
Oh, so yeah, of course. That's definitely,
I had to throw that in there.
That's definitely, I think a very reasonable pick. So for me, let's see here. I actually think I have the same 5 now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, I have the same 5. So Peter Strawn for Conclave, Jay Cox and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard, Thomas Bidegain, Nicholas Levici for Amelia Perez, Jocelyn Barnes and Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys, and Clint Bentley and Greg Cuidar for Sing Sing. Yeah, I have the same exact 5 on my side of things. I think, here's the thing about these picks. Like, Conclave, I think, is a shoe in. Amelia Perez, I think, is a shoe in.
Mhm.
The wild pick for me, wild is, I'm saying that very loosely here, but Nickel Boys is, it's not only a wish, it's a want.
Mhm.
And that's the movie that I do want to be acknowledged here. I'm very apprehensive as to whether or not it actually will get that nomination this particular year, but it did get a WGA nomination for a Best Adapted
Yup.
Screenplay. So I'm just hoping that that overlap, works out there. And then Sing Sing, I would love to see here too, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Doom Part 2, I have mixed feelings about as to whether or not I think it should be in there. Like, I could see the
Mhm.
argument. But if I'm for me, I think the first movie and the first half of the book is harder than the second half of the book. Personally, I think that
Mhm.
that portion of the book that they adapted in the first movie, I think, is the more difficult task to mount because you just have to
Yeah.
set up everything and explain the world. The second half of the book is, it's pretty straightforward if you ask me, and so I would be happy to see it here. But I think of the two halves, again, the fact that they split up the film kind of complicates the process. I would
Mhm.
say that I think the first half is probably the one that's a little bit more difficult to adapt. But if it were to get in here, I think that would be interesting and would say a lot just about Doom Part Two's chances also at this year's awards. Because if it gets into a screenplay nomination, then it could do really, really well across the board. It probably wouldn't win, but what it
Yeah.
might mean for all of its other, potential below the line nominations would also be quite significant as well, I think. So yeah, we'll see with Doom Part 2. Let's move on. Original screenplay. I can kick this
Mhm.
one off.
Mhm.
So
All right.
for me, I have Jesse Eisenberg for A Real Pain, Sean
Yep.
Baker for Anora, Brady
Mhm.
Corbet and Mona Fastvold for The Brutalist,
Mhm.
Coralie Fargi for The Substance,
Yep.
and Justin Kuritzkis for Challengers. I'm putting in Challengers on this one
Mm.
for original
Mhm.
screenplay.
Mhm.
And historically, I think both screenplay categories, what we've seen at the Academy Awards, has been, these are kind of where the cool films get to cook. Like,
Yeah.
if they don't get Best Picture nominations or if they don't get acting
Mhm.
nominations, we've seen historically where, like, the cool filmmakers get to play in the sandbox here. I'm thinking about Jordan Peele for Nope.
Yep.
I'm thinking about Cord Jefferson for American Fiction. Like, these are where, like, some of the cooler films that don't get heavily nominated elsewhere can kind of come
Mhm.
in here and have a really positive showing. And so I think movies like Challengers, which was kind of a phenomenon when it came out, I think that this would be like the one place, not saying it's going to win necessarily just yet,
Mhm.
but I think if this was the one place that it was going to get something potentially big outside of just the original score nomination that
Mhm.
it's likely going to get, I would also place it in this category as well.
Yeah, challenges is a really cool pick there, and something I've been thinking about as well. It's really hard for me to like figure out. It's one of those ones that's like, dang, I really like it, and I wish it was there, but I'm like, dang, is it gonna make it? I'm really not sure. We'll say, for sure, we have the same other four: Real Pain, Honora, Brutalist, Substance. You can copy and paste those four. But this fifth spot honestly has been really hard for me. It's been going. Challengers is an idea there, but also I still have a feeling that the Academy is really going to like September 5 here. Now with the new information about new kneecap is a little hard with the BAFTA, and I will say Challengers did get the WGA, which makes me want to say go ahead and throw Challengers here. But yeah, it's been really weird for me. Even now, Hard Truths is starting to come around. I'm like, what if Hard Truths does something? I think right now, just because I don't feel strong enough about anything else, I'm going to go September 5. But part of me really likes that Challengers pick you have there, and it's something I'm going to have to ponder on for a little bit.
Yeah, September 5 has been, it's still around. It's still hanging on
Yeah,
in terms of the talks, and so I don't think that that's crazy at all. I wonder though, with just the subject matter of that movie and just the
yeah,
ongoing stuff that's happening in Israel and Gaza, like all of that
mm-hmm,
stuff, and just like there's been a lot of blowback for that movie because of that stuff. But
mm-hmm,
at the same time, that movie is, it's about like producing and production and what
yeah,
it takes to like
exactly.
truck
They like that
through
stuff.
and make
Mm-hmm,
decisions exactly like that it's not a movie about movies per se, but it is a movie about, making decisions and being behind the making of something and the broadcasting of something and just like what it takes to sort of mount a production, which does
mm-hmm,
relate adjacently to what we're talking about with just filmmaking and all those different things. Of course, it's obviously a big well-known historical event as well, and so it definitely still has life. I don't think that that's a crazy pick, and it could still work its way into original screenplay here. So we'll see. Let's move on. Supporting actor, best supporting actor. Again,
Uh-oh.
another challenging one. But why don't you give off your picks? What are you gonna land here with your top five for
All
supporting
right,
actor?
let me go with the automatic first. Kieran Culkin has to be there. Um, I think at this point, Yura Borisov has to be there. I don't see him. I think he has a lot of good momentum. He's been nominated so much
Everywhere at this point. Yeah.
everywhere. They everybody also loves Edward Norton. I gotta go Edward Norton here. He has shown up constantly in a lot of these shows. I also have to go Guy Pearce. I do. I think they're gonna recognize it and see it. And also now that I've seen the Brutalist, boy, if Guy Pearce in here, yeah, just put Guy Pearce in there. Ooh, the fist, man, this fist spot, man, it be kicking my butt, bro. Every time I'm like, okay. So before BAFTAs and maybe some other mentally idea things here, I would go Jeremy Strong. But Clarence Macklin in the revitalized Sing Sing thing that's happening here, I think I'm gonna have to go Clarence Macklin, bro. I think there's potential for him to kind of upset Jeremy Strong here and become that fifth spot. I really do. That again is a mix between potentially educated and a want, but also I really like the energy that Sing Sing is given from the BAFTA. Sing Sing was like kind of cleaning up in terms of those nominations, and now here I'm like, Clarence is kind of back, so I'm gonna go with Clarence here.
Man, yeah, this one has so many names that are a part of it that could be potentials. I would say we have four of the same. I'm also going Kieran Culkin, Yuri Borisov, Edward Norton, Guy Pearce. I'm actually gonna go with Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna
Yeah,
make it in.
I
I
think he
do
might too.
want Clarence Macklin in this category, but I would not take out Jeremy Strong. I would take out Edward Norton for a complete unknown. That's who I would take
Mm-hmm.
out. I like Jeremy Strong a lot better in The Apprentice than I did Edward
Do
Norton
Edward Norton.
in
Mm-hmm.
Complete Unknown. He's okay in that movie, but he doesn't really do anything that really stands out to me. He's just fine. I've seen Edward Norton do a lot more interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But I recognize he's obviously extremely talented, a big name, of course, has a lot of pedigree and prestige. But if I had to, do a wish and get Clarence Macklin in here, yeah, I would sub him out for Edward Norton.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Kieran Culkin, Yuri Borisov, Edward Norton, Guy Pearce, and Jeremy Strong. Those are the five that I'm going to roll with. Kieran Culkin's winning. Is that just like locked in
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah.
He's
It's
gonna.
like not even a question to me. It's just like, yeah, that's the one. This is like the one award of the night that I'll be like, oh yeah, duh. But everything else is like, oh. But yeah, this is like the only one that feels like a shoe in to me.
What a crazy few years this guy's had. I mean, he's just
Yeah.
he's
Cooking.
he's coming off of what's been largely respected and acknowledged as like maybe the best performance from Succession. Won a ton
Mm-hmm.
of awards for that, won Emmys, multiple Emmys, Golden Globes, and all of that, and just comes right out of the gate into like his first movie or one of his first movies after the conclusion
Mm-hmm.
of that series, and just comes in and does an incredible job. Jesse Eisenberg's script that he wrote for him is just it's delivering him all the goods because he's likely going to walk away with that win here. Let's move on. Supporting actress. Again, another category that is somewhat all over the place, but I'll go ahead and give my five. I'm gonna pick for best supporting actress: Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez,
Mm-hmm.
Ariana Grande for Wicked, Jamie Lee Curtis for The Last Showgirl,
Mm-hmm.
Isabella Rossellini for Conclave,
Mm-hmm.
and Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. Those are going to be
Ooh,
my
okay.
five. Yep. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with that. The obvious ones here that I certainly expect to be here: Zoe for Amelia Perez, Ariana Grande for
Mm-hmm.
Wicked. I do think Jamie Lee Curtis is going to make it in here for The Last Showgirl. She got the SAG nomination, huge in Hollywood. She's just very well respected, high pedigree. So it just seems natural that she'll make it in this category.
Mm-hmm.
The other two, which have been somewhat of a toss up, just because of all the other names involved. I'm gonna go ahead with Monica Barbaro though, because I do think that again A Complete Unknown momentum, it's building,
Yeah.
and she is really really good in that movie, and so I do like her, and I do think that she can go ahead and get in here. And then also Isabella Rossellini, I do think is gonna make it in for Conclave. She's been sort of
Mm-hmm.
fighting from behind in some respects, but I think she's gonna get in here, and so this is gonna leave out a few people potentially. If I had to pick who I would want to be in this category, it would definitely
Mm-hmm.
be Danielle Deadweiler for The Piano Lesson. I would
Yeah.
love to see her get in here. And if I had to replace her with somebody, Frankly, I would replace her with Jamie Lee Curtis if it's just me.
Hmm.
But I don't know if she'll make it all the way in quite here, even though she did get the SAG nomination, which could be very, very good for her. But these are the five that I'm going to go with.
Yeah, again, pretty close across the board. I too have Zoe Saldana. I too have Ariana Grande. I too have Isabella Rossellini. I think she is going to get in. I also think Jamie Lee Curtis is going to get in. Man, and this when it gets hard again. That sixth spot always whips my butt because you're right. Complete Unknown. They clearly love this movie. Uh, and then there's the Monica Barbaro of it all, and then part of me is like, are they gonna? Part of me almost wants a surprise too between Danielle Deadweiler or Felicity Jones, like because those two have been. I don't know. You just never know. Part of me wants them to be like, yeah, y'all thought we were gonna do Monica Barbaro, and then just go a completely different direction. But I think, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with you on the Monica Barbaro. I really do. I think she'll make it in here. I think a potential surprise here is also Selena Gomez to make it in. I think yeah, she's just had a pretty good showing up here and there in these award shows. BAFTA, she won Cannes, I think, for Best Actress. It's just like, whoa, what's happening here? So we'll have to see, but I think I'm pretty aligned with you on what's going to happen here. But again, we'll love Daniel Deadweiler. Unfortunately, Ingenue Ellis Taylor's. I mean, I think our shots are dead, but of course would have loved to see her. But I think that just makes sense. Monica Barbaro just makes sense for me right now.
For sure. Yeah, and I think we already sort of talked about front runner Zoe, sort of being at least for
Yeah.
now in that conversation, unless we're sort of proven otherwise once the SAGs rolls
Mhm.
around. Let's move on to best actor. Kick us off. Who are your top five for best actor?
Adrian Brody, The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet, Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, Conclave, and I think they're gonna give it. I think they're gonna give that fifth spot to Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. I do. It's just been his momentum has kind of shifted in these last couple of award show nominations, and so I think they're gonna feel that, recognize that, and give Sebastian Stan the nomination for The Apprentice.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, we have the same five here across the board. So Adrian
Hmm.
Brody, The Brutalist, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes, Conclave, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, which are the four that I would say are absolute locked, ready to go. Just like sign them up. They are getting nominated. That fifth spot is looming. Daniel Craig is still an outside chance
Yeah.
because he did get the SAG nomination over Sebastian Stan in
Hmm.
particular. And so Daniel Craig is certainly not gone from the conversation, but I have Sebastian Stan here. I think he's going to get it. I think he's fighting from behind, but it's a hell of a fight that he's put up.
Hmm.
It's a hell of a showing that he's done, just with like the interviews that he's done, and just the press that he's done for the movie, and just the fact that it's an incredible performance. Like I don't care how you feel about the man, it is what it is. We all know what the reality is. What he did in that movie, it's tremendous. It's phenomenal. Both him and Jeremy Strong, just their performances in The Apprentice. I think it's something that should be seen. Even though I know like a lot of the distribution did not make it to the mainstream and make it to the mainstay probably as much as some of these other films. And
Yeah.
I do wonder how many Academy voters actually watch the performance and watch the movie. That's the one
Mm.
thing that I'm like questioning as to whether or not it'll even make it, because did people even
Interesting.
watch this movie?
Hmm.
There's nothing that's holding a gun to any Academy voter's head to say like you must watch this movie right
That's
now.
true.
It doesn't work that way. People can choose not
Hmm.
to watch something and it not be acknowledged. So that's very much still likely on the table. And maybe people just tapped into Queer and watched Daniel Craig
Mm.
much more
Hmm.
than they watched The Apprentice. I think that he's still likely, the sixth outside shot, but I'm going to go with Sebastian Stan as well. The other names here I do just want to call out, Hugh Grant, we talked about with Heretic. It would be crazy to see him in here. It would be really, really fun to shake it up. I just don't think he's going to make it all the way. And then also Jesse
Yeah.
Eisenberg, he's really good in Real Pain, but a lot of the momentum is really behind the script and of course behind Kieran Culkin, for that performance. And so I don't think he'll quite squeak into this category, but other performances that I liked a lot as well. Let's move on. Best actress. So for this one, this is a hard category. I think again the most competitive category, which is the same as it was last year. Last year I feel like it was the most competitive category as well for the Oscars. But I'll give off my top five, and then you can go right after. So for me, Demi Moore, The Substance, Mikey Madison for Honora, Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, and Marianne Jean Baptiste for Hard Truths. I'm going to go ahead and get her in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's purely based off of her performance in the movie.
Yep.
I love what she did. She's just so phenomenal in that movie. It tore me up. And so it's a wish, and it's just going to be it's going to be my prediction. There's obviously a lot of other names here, the Fernando Torreses of the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's still others like Pamela Anderson, who did get the SAG Award nomination. We just saw Saoirse Ronan get some momentum with the BAFTAs. I mean, there's just a ton of names this year. Tilda Swinton is still out there, Angelina Jolie, Nicole Kidman. Like, all of those names are still
Mm-hmm.
like on the
Big,
table.
huge names. Yeah.
Huge names. And I think Marianne Baptiste is somewhat of an underdog in this category. But again, hardworking actress, has been in Hollywood for decades and decades. This movie that she, sort of reunited with Mike Leon, after now working together for 30 years, coming back and doing this movie and just giving this performance. I think she has a really good shot. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in here for my fifth spot.
I like it, bro. Because I'm pretty sure I have the same exact 5 that you have here. I'm really rooting for Marianne Jean Baptiste here. I really am. And I think, especially, yeah, Hard Truths has been just been a lot of stuff popping up for it recently. Like, there's been letterboxes giving out tickets to go see it, and like I know it's playing at a couple of Alamos, and like I don't know, it just feels like I think once more people get their eyeballs on this film, if they already haven't, it's going to be like, wait, Marianne Jean Baptiste is really good here, and I actually think she's going to switch kind of that 6th spot with Fernanda Torres. Like, in my head, that's the other pick would have been Fernanda Torres had it not been for her. But because she does exist and she is here and starting to get talked about more, and the BAFTA is here now, and I'm like, let's go with Marianne Jean Baptiste. I just like her here as a pick. And again, part of it is it's a one. It's like, no, she went crazy. So I'm hoping she gets rewarded for it with the nomination. But yeah, we got the same 5 here.
She got the same 5.
Yep.
For me, a wish and a want would be Fernanda Torres.
Mm-hmm.
Saw her and I'm Still Here. She's phenomenal. Definitely a great performance in that movie. I see why she won the Golden Globe for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would replace, honestly, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. To be honest, I would replace Cynthia Erivo. I just think that there's a lot of stronger performances this year, to just be honest, for just like this particular category. Cynthia Erivo is like, she's fine in Wicked, but I think again, just like what she portrayed in that movie compared to like what the character has been historically in the book and the stage play, wasn't really for me personally. It was what it was, but that's who I would replace and put in Fernanda Torres personally. But it's a really stacked category this year. It's really stacked, and it's going to be hard to call. Again, I don't think it's over for Fernanda Torres. She could easily be in here, or even somebody like Pamela Anderson, who we did see get that SAG award. There might be that potential overlap where we see her get in. I think the only thing about Pamela Anderson with SAG is that the voting body for SAG it's incredibly huge. Not everybody that's in SAG is an Academy member. So while there is overlap, there's not a significant amount of overlap, like where everybody is in the Academy. They're definitely a smaller percentage. And I just don't know if Pamela Anderson will get that type of support, even though she is, she's been around, she's, done a ton of work, and she's had this sort of career resurgence as like a serious actor or a well-respected actor. Again, she's, I think, somewhat of I wouldn't say an outside shot because she did get the SAG nomination, but she would be looming in that 6th or 7th spot. If she does not get in here, I think she would probably be very much next down on the list. But yeah, we'll see. Moving on, Best Director. This is obviously one of the biggest awards of the night, and another very competitive one this year, which can go in a few different directions. I really don't know who's going to win this year in particular. At this particular point, the DGAs are telling us one thing. Some of these other precursors are kind of telling us other things. We'll see, in terms of the night when it shapes up and shapes out, like what film is getting momentum, which could probably clue us in as to who will win. But not entirely sure right now. But who are your top 5 picks for the Best Director?
I have Jacques Audiard, Emilia Perez. I have Sean Baker for Honora. I have Edward Berger for Conclave. Brandy Corbett for The Brutalist. And I actually got Coralie Fargier here for The Substance. Those are my 5. What's so interesting about this Best Director category too is some of the contenders are kind of stacked. Like, in some ways, you could have your own little part 2 battle of like other directors that are out there. Like there's Denis Villeneuve, there's Ramel Ross, there's James Mangold, there's Luca Guadagnino. There's it's just really interesting this year. The things we're going to see. But yeah, man. Of course, still breaks my heart to leave out Denis, but I think this is the five, and I think it's a five that makes sense to me. These are all, I think, achievements in directing. Yeah, again, I this is a guess, but the Academy is just they're just the award season is just super high on Amelia Perez, and for me, I love it, and I think there is achievement here, but I don't know. I think they could also recognize some other people in place of Jacques Audiard sometimes.
Who would you replace him with?
Either man, I really like Nickel Boys, of course, and I really like Dune. I just think when I think of achievement in directing and the things that those directors had to do to get those movies made, it just impresses me. And so maybe one of those two films. Even thinking about the uprising Sing Sing is having Greg, what's his name, Quater, for that film, like that interests me too. So yeah, one of those films I would say.
Got it. So 4 of ours are the same. I also have Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, Sean Baker for Honora, Edward Berger for Conclave, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. My 5th spot, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown.
Yeah.
Just because, again, pedigree, history, legacy, DGA nomination, all that stuff, A Complete Unknown, gaining a lot of momentum. It's Bob Dylan, of course, him being a subject matter of a film, obviously one of the more influential musical figures of our time. Everybody knows Bob Dylan. People probably in the Academy, I would imagine, like his music and listen to his music. It's an easy movie to watch to, compared to some of these other films, relatively shorter. So I think it's just a lot of momentum from James Mangold in that respect. I would take out... it's funny, I have him in here, but I would take out James Mangold and I would replace him with Coralie Fargy for The Substance. That's who so I would actually match your nominations and replace James Mangold. As much as I like him and respect him as a director, I would replace him. I actually like everybody else in this category. I'm mixed on Amelia Perez, but the direction of that movie, pretty audacious.
It is good. No,
pretty incredible.
It is. It's impressive.
It's pretty impressive what he did there. We're talking like 3 or 4 languages, musical numbers, dramatic stuff, gangster, mob shootouts, like all sorts of crazy shit in that movie.
It's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on. So I actually really like the audaciousness of it. I would keep Jacques Audiard in here, but I would actually replace James Mangold with Coralie Fargy and match what you have here. But I'm just going to put him in here for just the historical significance of, him, of course, the movie, and the subject of it. And, the Academy, not been great to women in terms of directing, just not been that great historically, which is very much unfortunate, obviously. But those would be my 5. And then, of course, last but not least, Best Picture, which gets 10 picks here. Of course, biggest award of the night. The 10 that I'm going to include, feel good about most of these. A couple I'm a little unsure about. But the 10 picks that I have are Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Sing Sing, The Substance, Wicked, and A Real Pain. A Real Pain is going to be my 10th one. Those are my 10 picks. I'll say them one more time. Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Sing Sing, The Substance, Wicked, and A Real Pain. That's what I'm going with. Again, not ready to say who's going to win exactly just yet. I fear for who's going to win, but I'm just going to reserve those comments for later. But, 10 picks is, it's hard, and it would be a different conversation to even rank these, like power rank them, like who's the most likely, who's the least likely. That's an interesting conversation to have. But some of the ones that I think are obvious, that'll be here: Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez. Those 4 feel extremely likely, very much like on the higher end in terms of the most likely to get in. Wicked, I think, is also probably a shoo-in at this point, just because that's the huge popular pick. A lot of people saw it. Definitely got a lot of attention and praise when it came out. Very well-known IP, of course. And then when you get to some of these other ones, not so sure. I'm including Dune Part 2 just because I do think it's going to just get so many below the line nominations, and I just find it hard to believe that it wouldn't get a Best Picture nomination. Won't get director, likely, for
Mm-hmm.
Denis Villeneuve, but that's historically been the case for a lot of movies. They get directed for Best Picture, but they don't get those Best Director nominations, like a Barbie from last year. That was the same case. I think also Dune 1, it was the same exact situation. So I just think that because it's going to get so many technical, nominations, it's going to make
Yeah.
it into the final 10 for the Best Picture. Sing Sing again, I think is having a resurgence. Coleman Domingo, potentially Clarence Macklin, as we talked about, with Best Supporting Actor. But I think when you're just looking at Best Picture for the whole year, we get 10 picks. I'm gonna put Sing Sing in there. And then that last spot, which is really hard, is what I'm going with On a Real Pain for. I just think that it could go in many different directions in terms of what gets that 10th spot, but
Mm-hmm.
because of Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin, the subject matter, it's dealing with the Holocaust and sort of Jewish oppression and just sort of the long lasting generational effects of that. I think that'll probably resonate with a lot of Academy voters, at the end of the day. So it definitely has that historical edge to it as well. That I think might get it in here. So yeah, those are my 10. Those are the 10 the 10 Best Picture nominees. I think will likely get it. I can be completely wrong, but we'll see this coming Thursday.
We have the same 10. Like, I don't have much honestly to add on or change. I think those 10 make sense. And I think the only question in my mind was is the Real Pain going to make it? Is the Real Pain going to make it? But the more I think about how much people love Kieran Culkin's his performance in that film, the more I think about a Real Pain potentially showing up in screenplay, I'm just like, I feel like they're gonna just go ahead and make it that 10 spot. And to be honest, I don't have a ton of pushback on what that 10 spot could be. Like again, it could be, they could surprise us and give us something else, but I don't think they will. I think this feels like a really solid 10, and that feels, I don't know if right is the word, but it feels accurate to me. I think the only movies that make sense in the 11th spot is September 5 or Nickel Boys or Challengers. Like, I don't know, I don't see much outside of that, but yeah, I think we have the same 10, and I think those 10 make a ton of sense.
Um, hmm. If I put in a 10th one, or subbed out, I should say subbed out. If I subbed out a movie, put in a 10th one, would put in Nickel Boys, would take out Wicked. Um, would
Mm-hmm.
absolutely be my pick to take out
Yeah.
Wicked here and put in Nickel Boys again. Ramel Ross, and just the achievement there would be incredible to acknowledge. It is a shame of just how little it is sort of getting that type of traction in the season. Couple of things here and there, but just not to the
Mm-hmm.
heavy degree like we're seeing with some of these other movies. But yeah, that would be my sub, would be to take out Wicked for sure and put in Nickel Boys. Now, early prognostications for winner for this one. I do want to just
Mm-hmm.
like talk about that quickly. Who would you say right now? Just right off top, who would you say is like the front runner? It can change when we do official predictions, but I mean, if you had to pick somebody that or a movie that would actually probably walk away with the win as of now, with what who would it be?
With what I know, Emilia Perez.
Good
With what I
gosh.
know, and it's funny because that is not, honestly, that's not what I want to happen. But it's just the way it feels. It is. It's just the way these shows are going. The way the even nominations have been feeling. It feels very Amelia Perez-y. I'm in the camp of Honora Brutalis Sing Sing feel. I would love if they were like, surprise, Sing Sing wins, but I just don't see it right now. Yeah, just the momentum behind Amelia Perez is just so crazy, and I haven't seen it slow down yet, and I think I'm looking for that bit of slowdown, and I think it will come once these shows actually start airing. But until then, that's just it. It's just like, Million Perez. I think that might be
Did you just
what I say.
at the movie? Oh my
I,
god.
I I like the film. I like the movie, but just some of these other films, I'm like, really? Like, did y'all watch these other movies? These are crazy. And Emil Perez, like we just spoke about it, great direction, very audacious, really good movie. But I don't know. I just don't, in my mind, I don't picture it as a best picture winner as much as I like it. And the controversy behind it, which we know the Academy Award doesn't care about, and all those other things, just like it'll probably win for those reasons. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but that's the feeling I have right now.
I just can't fix my lips to say it, so I'm not gonna say it. I'm just still gonna, roll with the brutalist. I'm just gonna say it
Yep.
for now.
That's a hey, yeah.
Just
Keep
gonna say it
rolling
for
there.
now. I'm just gonna
You
keep
be
rolling
the
with it.
you can be the North Star. You're the guiding light. I'm like the devil on the shoulder. You can be
I'm
the angel on the shoulder.
I'm gonna try, but even now with the brutalist though, there are things working against it. There
Hmm.
allegedly have been Academy voters who anonymously have said, like, I didn't even finish the movie. It's too long. It's
Oh
3.5
my.
hours. They're not watching the movie, which is a factor. Again, this can
Yeah.
all work against the movie. The fact that it is
Hmm.
so long, it is so demanding. You have to carve out a lot of time to experience the film. Could very much work against it. It's this really prestigious, some would say pretentious art house movie, and
Hmm.
historically those don't win Best Picture. They just don't. They do not win Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
A movie like Amelia Perez, as mixed as I may feel on it, it has a lot of thematic things. Some of those things are problematic. Probably, I definitely can see that, but it has a lot of thematic things that I think people resonate with. Jacques Audiard, very well respected director, audacious story that they're telling.
Hmm.
There's a lot working in its favor, but I said this I think a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of shaping up that it is falling into that category of films like Crash and Green Book that have won
Hmm.
Best Picture, where these movies that are like largely disliked by audiences end up
Hmm.
winning. And again, that's not to say that any of those movies are necessarily bad. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
there isn't like a ton of actual fan support, audience support
Hmm.
behind them. But somehow, Academy voters, they rally behind them and they decide like this is what's winning. We also cannot forget like just the climate of the country also affects these things, like what's happening with the current
Hmm.
conversation and the fact that Amelia Perez it's a trans story. And
Hmm.
look who's in office right now. I mean, this guy just literally at the inauguration just talked about gender, assignments and all of those things. Like these are very much conversations that people are having. And sometimes
Right.
like these picks and who wins these awards is in retaliation to what's happening in the current climate of the country. Happens all the time, especially in the past few
Hmm.
years. And so Amelia Perez is a movie that speaks to that stuff. And so there's a lot behind it, a lot of momentum. If it'll ultimately win or not, I mean, I don't know, but if it does, I think it again, it just kind of says a lot just about what we
Hmm.
thought the Academy was versus what we think it is, and also sometimes just like the hard target of what that even looks like. Like it's always kind of a moving target because on occasion you'll see things like The Substance, a genre movie, make it pretty
Hmm.
far and do really well. Like a couple of years
Right.
ago, a science fiction film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, won almost everything. Like that happened. But then we get to years like this where it feels like, damn, did we just like rewind to the mid 2000s again? Like, did we just
Hmm.
like go back like 20 years? I don't know. We might be in store for something of that nature this year,
Oh
but we'll
Lord.
see.
Not Green
Um,
Book.
but we will come back and talk about the nominations after they drop. Again, they're going to be coming out this Thursday, and so we'll be back next week's episode to react to everything that gets nominated and compare our list and see how right or how wrong we ultimately were with our Academy Award nominations predictions. But if you have any thoughts on that stuff, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think.